Welcome back to Hot Takes and Deep Dives, and this is an interview with Lindsay Hubbard. So I did this interview with Lindsay a couple of years ago in between the Carl relationships. So this is an interesting time period after the initial time she started to date Carl that didn't work, but post Stravi and pre her and Carl like really going all the way. So I think this is an interesting profile on Lindsay. We get into her career, a lot about her family history, her mom, her dad. So I just think this is a really cool psychological profile on Lindsay. We also get into her astrological chart. So here we go. Hi, Lindsay Hubbard.
Hi, Jess. Thanks for having me. Don't activate me, but we'll see. We'll see by the end of this.
If I do, can I get some free merch?
I mean, yeah, send me your address.
Tell me everything. How are you?
I'm good. We're nearing the end of the season. I'm a little exhausted. I think we all are a little exhausted, but it's been a great season so far. I feel like it's maybe one of our best yet. And, yeah, you tell me.
Oh, I definitely feel that this is the rare show that with every season, like it gets exponentially better and better because it seems like the stakes are higher, and in order to have a great show, there need to be stakes, whether it's scripted or reality. Like an often complaint now with the Housewives is that it's just antics. And so you need like relationship drama. And so that's why I think a show like yours and Vanderpump, it can reach those high highs. You know, speaking of Vanderpump Rules, technically, if we're being really technical about it, Summer House is sort of a spin-off of Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah, where we were always sort of known as the East Coast Vanderpump.
Like when you think back to your series premiere, it was reminiscent of, I don't know if are you a Housewives fan?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay.
I watch all the Bravo shows.
Oh, good. We can get into that. But if you recall, the way Vanderpump Rules was introduced to the audience
from Beverly Hills
it was like a continuation of an episode of Beverly Hills, and that's literally what they did with you guys. You were a continuation of an episode of Vanderpump Rules. That's what I'm joking that it's a spinoff. I mean,
yeah, well, we're still spinning over here, so I mean, like.
I am a New Yorker. I'm actually from Long Island, and I've lived in New York City and Manhattan for my entire adult life, went to college at NYU, and I thought it would be fun for the uninitiated. Could you give like an oral tour of the Hamptons for listeners who may not be familiar? So for example, the house this year is in Southampton.
Right.
You guys often go out in Sag Harbor. Season 1, the house was in Montauk. Can you describe the nuance of each of these locations so people can understand? Because there is, in these different little hamlets and villages within the Hamptons, it does attract a different crowd. People are looking, okay, I'm going to the Hamptons this summer. Where should I go out? Can you give a little itinerary, a little tour?
Honestly, that's the first thing that I thought of when you started asking this question, because we get that all the time in DMs and Instagram. It's like, I'm coming to the Hamptons. Where should I go? Well, the Hamptons is a really big place. It's this offshoot peninsula almost of, the city. And it goes all the way east. So you first, once you're entering the Hamptons, you start out in Southampton, Watermill. Then you get to Bridgehampton. Then you get to... you start with Westhampton, Quogue, Westhampton, Southampton, Watermill, Bridgehampton, and then Easthampton, Amagansett, Montauk. And, from Westhampton to Montauk is probably 2 hours as a drive and 2.5 with traffic, because it's like one road in, one road out, basically. And, I would say like the most luxurious part of I don't know, they're all pretty, high end. I think honestly, Quogue has a lot of expensive properties. Watermill is
Cindy Barshop from Roni put Quogue on the map.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It was a whole thing.
I mean, Quogue is absolutely stunning.
So there's an episode of Real Housewives of New York. Cindy Barshop was like a 1-season Real Housewives of New York.
I remember.
And in the episode, she takes all the women to Quag, and Ramona Singer has a fit. She's like, I'm not going to Quag. She's like, why would I go to Quag? I have a house in Southampton. And it was a big thing of like, Quag is shitty, but you're here to dispel that rumor.
Well, yeah, honestly. And like a lot of middle-aged women and men come up to us and they're like, when I was your age, we did the exact same thing, but in West Hampton. And then it sort of moved all the way to the east, which is Montauk, Amagansett. Like Montauk is a little bit more of a younger, mid-20s to mid-30s type of crowd. That's where we typically, used to go out all the time. And so, yeah, I mean, every Hampton has its like little thing, whether it's shopping or Main Street. Sag Harbor has like one of the best main streets in my opinion, and it's super close to the water, beautiful waterfront, restaurants. So, it's, you just determine like what you're looking for out of your weekend. If you want to party, go to Montauk. If you want to have a chill, more of a chill weekend, stay in a nice big mansion in the woods in Bridgehampton.
Totally. In fact, Sag Harbor, it's one of the only areas in the Hamptons where it's preserved as like a historic location. Like they won't allow a Starbucks. Like there's no chain stores. It's all like local shops.
I love that. Especially when we're running around like the bars of Sag Harbor. Like my favorite thing to do is go to a dive bar. But yeah, I mean, the Hamptons is so special. I've been going since actually 2007 when I interned in New York City. I was interning at a PR firm, and I don't think a lot of people know this about me. So I came to New York between my junior and senior year of college and interned at a PR firm. You don't make money as a PR intern. And I had to supplement my income in some sort of way. I met a club promoter, and he had me working as a VIP hostess at a club called Star Room in the Hamptons during my entire internship. And that was 2007.
And what was your first impression of the Hamptons? Because there is the reputation that it's too bougie.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Hamptons, of course, like it's a little bougie. It's like one of the most expensive places to live in the world, but when you get a group of friends together, which is how we started, you get a group of friends together, you share the cost of that bougie house, then it makes it a little bit more attainable and affordable for, people in their 20s and 30s. And you get to live that lifestyle before you even fully understand what the lifestyle is. And, but yeah, like, of course, as with anything, can have the label of bougie, but I think it's just depending on who you share those weekends with.
100%. Totally agree. Can we get into your career as a publicist owning your own PR firm?
Sure.
So I know that you started out working for another company. Like you went to school for PR, you majored in public relations, I assume.
Yeah. I'm one of the few that actually majored in public relations and did what I went to school for.
I know it's kind of like that joke, everybody majors in communications, and it's like, okay, well, you can do nothing.
Yeah.
Do you remember the specific moment, like when you were like, you know what? I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to strike out on my own and open my own firm without the security of a guaranteed paycheck, a boss coaching you. Like, what was that moment?
Yeah, so a lot of people don't know this either. Wow, you're getting so many exclusives today from me. So I majored in PR at University of Florida, graduated, and 3 days later moved to New York. Lived in New York for a year, worked at a PR firm. Moved to LA and lived in LA, worked for a different PR firm out there for 3.5 years. And then, around 2012, my boss at the time was shipping me back to New York because she needed me to run our New York office. And then in August of 2014, which was about 2 years before we filmed season 1, I had a boyfriend who happened to be a chef and owner of a few different restaurants. And he was the one who really, really pushed me to go up on my own. He saw me working my butt off for all of his clients, or his venues that were clients of ours, and then saw me working, around the clock for every other client that we had at that agency. And he just was like, what are you doing? Like, you can do this on your own. And I was like, I'm scared. Like, I know my weaknesses and I'm good being front of house and, like communicating and client facing and talking to the media and creatively pitching, but I'm not good at, taxes and payroll and insurance and, the business side of things. Like, I don't even want to deal with that. And he was like, okay, look, I know I'm a chef, but I also worked at Goldman Sachs. I was in finance for a while. So let me help you run the back end of the business. And that's really how I started. And then 2 years later, we were on and off as a couple, and we just were going in separate ways. And that's what you guys saw season 1 was me, eventually leaving my partnership with him and dissolving that company and sidestepping and starting Hub House PR, which, yeah, I mean, it's terrifying for sure. But I think having that, 2 years of sort of getting my feet wet and understanding, the ins and outs of running a business enabled me to have the confidence to do it, on my own, fully, completely as a sole proprietor and, president of my own firm and life.
All in, like, what is the financial investment? What was it for you, out of curiosity, to embark on this? Of course, there's the overhead of paying for an office, employees eventually. What was the buy-in?
The buy-in, I mean, luckily PR is very much a communications business. Really all I need is a laptop and my relationships and contacts with the media and celebrities. But, there doesn't have to be any overhead whatsoever besides maybe buying a domain and, putting up a website, as long as, especially as an experienced PR girl. But I mean, yeah, if you want an office, if you want to get an employee, you probably need like 15,000 just as like safety to open a bank account, make everything legal, and, get an office and try to run as a, self-sufficient and legitimate business.
Cut to so that was at the beginning. That was at the beginning of the show, and we saw that journey. The reality is, you're a reality star and you're an influencer. How do you use this angle as a sales pitch? This has to have blown up your business. How do you use this to your advantage when it comes to your actual personal PR business?
Right. So, in the beginning, it's really interesting you asked that question. In the beginning, after season 1, even season 2, I found that a lot of people or brands were coming to me for representation just for the opportunity to meet me. They didn't really want to pull the trigger on hiring a PR firm, which was very discouraging for me because, like I'm
you mean like they were fans of the show?
Yes. So once that happened a few different times where people were like, oh, like, let's have a meeting. And I would meet with them thinking, like, okay, like we're going to work together in PR. I'm going to represent you. And then it was like, oh, sorry, like we don't have the budget. Well, why are you wasting my time? So I, after the first couple of seasons, I was, a little bit bamboozled with people who just were fans and wanted to meet me and didn't really like have any intentions of hiring PR because they didn't have the budget. And then once, we got through the last a couple of seasons after season, 3, 4, it became a selling strategy. Like, not only am I a legitimate publicist with very serious, long-lasting contacts within the media, and with influencers, but I myself am also an influencer and can help, bring exposure and draw attention on my own as an influencer. And I was able to sort of speak to both sides of the line, the behind the scenes publicist side and like what needed to be done in more of a traditional sense. And then also this non-traditional social media influencer side that I was able to give them really great advice and also support in that way from my own Instagram.
At this point, which do you more identify with? The public relations side, the publicist Lindsay, or the television star Lindsay?
I would say my entire life, even since I've been on TV, if I run into a stranger or whatever, a friend of a friend, and they're like, oh, like, nice to meet you. What do you do? My first instinct is and always will be, I'm a publicist. And I will always say that before I even mention like, oh, I'm a publicist. Oh, and I'm on this TV show. Like, it just doesn't seem natural, you know, for me to, because I will just always in my heart be a publicist. I think, you know, and I talk to my PR girlfriends a lot about this. PR as an industry has changed so drastically. When we were starting out, we actually had to work and like we had to be creative writers and we had to convince the New York Times and E! News and, you know, CNN why they had to write about our clients. And the only way that we were able to do that was through strong creative writing with a lot of research behind our pitches. And now all you really have to do is get an influencer to post in this fashion brand or go to your restaurant and post a photo and, you know, do swipe ups and stories and da. So, you know, PR as an industry has changed so drastically since social media came about, and it's a lot easier, but it's also a little bit mind numbing because you're like, I'm not as challenged as I used to be. And, you know, it's sad to see, but it's also like really great for the industry to be able to capitalize on social media. So, I mean, I would say like, I will always resonate with more of a PR publicist title, more so than any other title that I could have. And I have a lot at this point. But, you know, it is an industry that is significantly changing. And, you know, I don't relate to it as much now as I did back in the day.
What are some of the larger brands that you've worked with in your career, like brands that we would know or restaurants that we would know?
Yeah, I used to be like, I mean, when I lived in LA and worked at a PR firm out there, I worked with Oakley and Muscle Milk and Virgin America. From New York to LA, I've probably opened and launched almost every single restaurant, lounge, club, sports bar there is under the, you know, skyline. And yeah, I used to work with the Kardashians doing the Kardashian collection. I've worked with I've worked with.
What did you do specifically with them?
So right when Kardashians came out with the Kardashian collection, which was their first, you know, clothing line, my PR firm represented them. Oh
my God. What year was this?
This was probably 2000. I worked at that 2010. I ran a Kardashian red carpet once. Like I had to run it with every single Kardashian on that red carpet. And that was a wild time. Yeah. I mean, I have like stories for days about, you know, life that I've like lived 100 different lives and, you know, as a publicist.
Okay. Florida.
Yes.
You're our hometown hero in Florida. Controversial state these days.
Yeah. I mean, when is Florida not a controversial state? I mean, it's like you can't win and you can't lose when you're from Florida. It's like, I love Florida. I will always be proud of being from Florida. It's a very adverse state. You know, I learned a lot of adversity growing up in Florida that prepared me, you know, to deal with being on reality TV. But yeah, Florida, I will always have a special place in my heart for Florida.
And it's ironic because as much shit as New Yorkers talk about Florida, somehow they all wind up moving there.
Yeah, they're all in Florida now.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm the one who went the opposite direction.
I want to hear about you in last week's episode. You were talking about your father, your relationship with your father, and you were saying how there was a period of time where you guys weren't as close because he kind of couldn't deal with your quote unquote wild ways. Go deeper on the wild ways. Like, what were you up to?
Oh gosh. Well, you know, like, I think I was like, I don't think I'm the only one who did this as a female, but, you know, growing up, I was a golden child. I was in the most, you know, highly rigorous academic program at my high school. I didn't drink. I didn't have boyfriends. I worked around the clock. You know, when I wasn't in school, I was at work making money. So when I went to college, I, sort of let loose in a big aspirational way and, danced on bars and was in wet t-shirt contests and learned, how to drink alcohol and play beer pong. And, there was times that I think, things got back to my dad from maybe some coworkers of his. And I was just really embarrassed and sad that I, put my dad in that position. And he was just like, look, like, let me know when you're like out of the stage, please. And, eventually, we got better and, we repaired the damage I had done as a wild college kid.
Would you mind sharing a little bit more about the relationship with your mom? I remember in season 1, early on, you had like your first communication with her that you had in a long time. And then I think you may have seen her at somebody's wedding in your family. What's the story? Like, what happened with your mom?
Yeah. By the way, do you hear this construction? Like, I'm okay. 30 floors up in the sky in the clouds and the construction's going on the streets. That's how loud.
Listen, it's authentic. This is a New York show. It's authentic.
Like my mom and my dad divorced when I was like 2 or 3, maybe 2. My brother was 3. We lived with my dad and, he was older. He was more financially stable. And my mom I think she wasn't really ready to have kids. Like, she had me when she was, I think my brother when she was 21 and me when she was 22. And so she was really, really young. And unfortunately, I don't think she was ready to be a full-time mother. And, throughout my entire childhood, my brother and I grew up with my dad and my mom had joint custody. So we would see her, like on every Wednesday and then every other weekend. And then at some point in time, she got remarried. She had another, set of kids, my half brother and sister. And she finally, in raising them, started maturing a little bit more. And I was really happy with her for, kind of stepping into motherhood. But, she sort of just never really cared so much that my brother and I were her children also. And it became a really toxic relationship that I eventually was just like, you know what, this is too toxic for me. I need to go focus on my future. And that was probably when I was like 22, right out of college and, trying to figure out my life. And I needed to do that without any negative toxicity and around. And yes, I called her 8 years later. I think it was that Labor Day on season 1 that phone call taught me a lot. I know you guys couldn't really hear it because I wasn't willing to call her on speakerphone. But for me, it was important. I had question marks in my mind up until that point. And then when I finally called her and talked to her, it was just pretty clear that like, she just was very much still like, didn't really care about like what was going on in my life and that I had just turned 30 and I was like super in love with my boyfriend and moving in with him. And it just seems like, okay, well, I've already filled this void, of this mother figure, maternal figure in my life. I have a stepmom who's a phenomenal woman and I have an aunt who's super loving and giving. And that was it. I didn't really, I think after so many years, you're just like, I tried and tried and tried. And listen, this is part of the reason why it's hard for me to give up on relationships is because I tried so long with my mom until I couldn't do it anymore. And, that was 22 years of my life.
Yeah. So your Aunt Rada is your father's sister.
My dad's sister. Yeah.
Did she ever try to help mend the relationship or did she just leave, was she just hands off?
She wasn't like close with my mom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Cause it's my dad's sister. Right. And they had divorced when I was so young. So I think once my dad and my mom divorced, I don't think my aunt really had too much of a relationship with her. So she didn't try to mend it, but I do know that in college, during my strained relationship with my dad, and I was kind of like, flailing in a little bit of different directions and trying to figure out my life, my aunt was like, okay, I'm going to be a strong female role model for you because I think that's what you really need. And you don't have that. So I'm just going to go ahead and step in. So it wasn't like she tried to mend that relationship. I think she knew like that she just needed me to step in as a strong female.
That's amazing. Like you're so lucky that you have both stepmom and so a wonderful aunt. Like it's great.
Yeah. And, I mean, that's why I wound up getting this tattoo is because I just was like,
it's
always remember
the female symbol.
Yeah.
The woman
the female symbol. Yeah. So, I mean, I got this tattoo a lot to commemorate and be just like always remember like, I can be hard and have a lot of strength, but always like, keep a feminine softness that, helps myself and others relate to me.
Before we jump into Summer House and the varying relationships inside there, real quickly, Hub House, where does this name come from? I know it's the name of your PR company, but was this always a nickname?
Okay. So, I started Hub House PR season 1, and it was an homage to my grandparents. They used to have a bed and breakfast in North Carolina called Hubbard House for years and years and years in the mountains of Hayesville, North Carolina. So it was like Northwest North Carolina, kind of in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, they had a bed and breakfast. I was very close with my grandparents before they passed. And I always wanted to just sort of commemorate them, and especially if I ever get married and change my name or if I don't have kids. And I just wanted to always keep the Hubbard name alive, but, modernize it a little bit.
I love it. A
lot of people call me, like a lot of my friends call me Hubs. So I was like, let's just call it Hub House. Also, Hub was sort of, that is like the center of any sort of like universe that takes place in like a moment in time or communication, like the communication hub. So it worked for a PR firm. It was like a play on the word hub, and
it's perfect. You lucked out with the last name. It's great.
I really did. I don't think I'll ever give it up. And Carl was so cute because once he just like really wanted to support me, so he would only call me Hub House. Ever since I started my PR firm. And even now to this day, if he calls me Lindsay, I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? You didn't call me Hub House. I don't know what I did.
Okay. Speaking of Carl, I'm sure I'm not the first person or the 100th to tell you this, but I care deeply about Carl's happiness as well as yours. And I really feel that the two of you should be together.
I know, you and the rest of the world. This is how we got together in the first place, right? It's like, we wound up, I think season 4, we wound up single at the same time and going into the summer, of Summer House. And we were posting photos on Instagram, and all of these fans and viewers were like, please, you guys need to get together. You guys need to get together, and it just like, you start to like think, oh my God, like, should we, like maybe we should, like everyone else sees something that we clearly are not seeing. So that's when we decided to give it a go.
So it was literally because the fans were shipping you?
No, Carl and I have the most fun together. We have the exact same sense of humor. We're very, very close. We share similar opinions about a lot of issues in the world. And we've been through this since day one together. And, we started getting close and close and closer and closer as the years went on, and like when you have 3 OGs, me, Kyle, Carl, and Kyle has Amanda, who's been around since season 1 as well. It was only natural for Kyle and Amanda to go to events together, and Lindsay and Carl to go to events together and hang out and support each other and watch the episodes together and just really like try to help each other through this like weird life that we live. So, that's how it started. And we just eventually got closer and closer. And then by season 4, we wound up single at the same time. And then we were posting photos and like everyone was shipping us, and we were like, okay, like, should we try this? Like, I don't know. And then we did, and then that didn't work. And like, and it took about a month for me and Carl to really like get back into like a friend, like a place where I felt like we could be friends again. I think it was when he dressed up as me for my birthday. And I was like, okay, we can be best friends again. And we've been through a lot together, and I love him so much. And I am so proud of where he's at right now. I've never seen anything like it. I know that he, was during, doing this like sort of like sobriety test in like, during the time that COVID hit, March, April, May. And he was like adjusting his relationship with alcohol. But then for him to sort of fall off the wagon and get back on again for a second time and take it even much more seriously, and like, to where he's at now and the way that he is taking care of himself now is just so profound to see. And the fact that
he's maturing into a wonderful role model for, yes, I think, young guys who, for young straight guys, I guess, just to just
for
generalize
anyone,
Yeah.
Listen, COVID was really hard for a lot of people. And I don't know, it just was like so astonishing to see like how he did it on his own. And like, yes, of course, he has like a huge support system, but he did it. And then he's also still able to like, he's just become much more of like a phenomenal friend. And, he's always been a great son to Sharon, but like an even better son and an even better friend and an even better like employee for Kyle.
So this begs the question, would you ever be interested in the new and improved Carl?
I will always love Carl. I think that, we're just like so close now. We hang out all the time. And we have the most like loving and caring and adoring friendship that is filled with support and love. And I don't think either of us are ever willing to destroy that, because that right there is really hard to find. And even if I am a girl and he's a guy, and maybe we did have a romantic stint, people can go back, and we were able to do that. And I'm so blessed and thankful that, we were able to go back to our friendship and then nurture that. And we came out stronger in the end, and even stronger and even closer now than we've ever been before.
I want to hear about your relationship and dating adventures that have not been covered on the show. You said that in the past, you tend to date guys who take you on a roller coaster. What are some like, tell me stories.
I mean, I like to be taken for a ride. That's for sure. I mean, okay, here's the thing. If you did a police lineup, right, and like put everyone against the wall, you physically would not be able to tell who my type was, because it is every different nationality, every different shape, every different size, and every different height. You can ask anyone in my life, they will back me up on that, because I have dated, some wild people, but I don't exactly have the best like picker. And that's what
Patty Stanger used to say, a millionaire matchmaker.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She used to tell the guy, the millionaire, the guy or the girl, to be like, your picker's off.
Yeah, I don't have a good picker, because I just like I fall, for like personality, but that personality might not always be the best thing for me.
Like, what's an example of somebody you dated?
Oh, okay. I'll give you one. I dated this Indian guy once, and he was a client. All right. So this was like a few years ago. I want to say like 2018. And I was hosting an event on a Monday night. He came to the event, and then we went and got food and went back to his place afterwards. And he lived in a duplex. So we get back to his place. It's probably like midnight on this Monday night. And I'm walking upstairs. I don't know how to turn the lights on. I've been there like once before. I'm like, whatever. I know where the kitchen is. I know where the wine is. And I know where the couch is. So I'm walking upstairs. He stayed downstairs to like, I think, take off his like suit and shoes, business guy. And I get upstairs and I look over, and it's pitch black, but there is a figure of a human being sitting on the couch in the dark. And I was like, oh my God, there's a human in here. There's a human in here. Like, what is going on right now? Like, I don't know why. I wasn't like that scared, but I was just like, this is weird. So he flicks on the lights from downstairs, runs up the stairs, and it's a woman. It's an Indian woman. And I knew who it was. And I was like, okay, but like, why is she here? So it was his wife. And I knew he had been separated for like 2.5 years, but I didn't know she had a key to his place that she does not live in. So as soon as he flicked on the lights, I didn't know what to do. And I walk up to her and I'm like, I'm Lindsay. And he, of course, like runs upstairs and is like, get out of here. And I mean, I just had never experienced anything like that. Like, why is she sitting in the dark on your couch on a Monday night at midnight? Like, are you guys still fucking, or what's happening? Because I was under the assumption you guys were separated, and now I'm like,
so why was she there?
He told me that she left a purse at his place. I highly doubt it. I wound up breaking up with him. I was like, I can't trust you. Like, you clearly lied to me. I basically was like, why does she have a key to your place? And he was like, she doesn't. She got it from the doorman. I go, then why would your doorman not warn you when we're walking in the door? Hey, by the way, your wife's here. So yeah, that's just like one story of mine. I'm going to write a book.
I mean, you really should write a book. So wait, I know you're a Leo because your birthday is early August. Do you know?
Yeah, August 11th.
August 11th, fellow Leo. Do you know your moon sign?
Yeah. So I'm a sun sign is Leo. My rising sign is Aries, and my moon sign is Scorpio, which is why I'm highly emotional at the nighttime.
This explains this explains everything.
Yeah, I'm a Scorpio moon. So it's like, oftentimes it's like my Scorpion and my Lion are like battling each other, trying to figure out like who's dominant. And yeah, it's definitely an interesting combination.
And you do present as an Aries. You are your rising sign would be Aries because you present like you're super buttoned up, professional, like you got it all together, from the front door. I mean, not that you don't. And then when I'm drunk on a boat, the Leo's there, and then like give me 5 hours and the Scorpion's coming out. I'm like, oh God. Wait, Lindsay, hold on a second. I'll be right back. I just have to call a friend. All right, guys, I am so sorry to interrupt, but this is a real astrological emergency. I had to get astrology with Andy Bellotti. You know him. He is the astrologer to the housewives. I had to get him on the line to do a quick 2-minute breakdown of Lindsay's astrological analysis, since here we are.
What's up? I got your text. I saw you had an astrological emergency. What's going on?
Okay, so I'm in the middle of interviewing Lindsay Hubbard, Hub House.
Oh my God. Okay. Tell me everything. I'm here.
You love Summer House.
I do.
Okay, so Lindsay just told us she is a Leo sun, Scorpio moon, Aries rising.
Holy shit. Okay.
Give me a few words that describe this specific astrological combination.
It's a kind of energy. That's the thing about that combination. There's so much energy that if it isn't channeled constructively, that can really easily get explosive and self-destructive.
Specifically, we all know about like a Leo sun. We're all clear with sun signs. The Scorpio moon. What does this mean exactly?
Okay, so the moon is about what we need to feel validated and seen and nourished and how we like to be nurtured. A Scorpio moon needs emotional intensity. They need depth. So they are the kind of people who they want to talk everything out. They want to dig deep, which also means that with a Scorpio moon, they do not take your bullshit. With a Scorpio moon, you have to come ready and come prepared. You saw that Scorpio moon come out in season 2. When she chewed out Everett at that party. And then on that date with Carl on the rooftop, that is the Scorpio moon. Now, what I will say is there's unevolved and evolved. Unevolved Scorpio moon is possessive, jealous. We did see that in season 2 when she basically wanted Everett to only focus on her. She got very jealous, very possessive, unevolved. Evolved Scorpio moon is somebody who has no qualms saying, you know what? There are some problems in our relationship. Let's talk about them.
And I feel like that's what you started to do with Stravi this season.
Yes, absolutely.
And I know you talk about, with regard to the rising sign, this can give us clues in terms of what we have to learn in life.
Yes, and with an Aries rising sign, what the Aries rising sign has to learn is how to be assertive without being aggressive. That's the key.
All right, Andy, that was great. I got to get back to Lindsay.
I get it. Talk to you soon.
Okay, bye. And I know
I'm a roller coaster in and of myself. Trust me, I know.
you are super racy on camera. Like, is there ever any hesitancy toward having sex on camera? Like with those night vision?
God, it's so awful. I mean, like, in what world, unless you're like a porn star, do you ever watch yourself have sex, back in time, 8 months later, right? I'm always very, very nervous about watching my, like more intimate, more sacred moments, and it's tough because on one side of it, you're like, oh, like this is my boyfriend. I'm not going to go 2 months in a house without having sex with him. That would be weird, but on the other hand, it's like, oh, but like the entire world's watching, and then eventually you just get drunk and do it because whatever. But listen, when I'm in a relationship, I am very sexually active with my boyfriend. And I think that's normal. And yes, it sucks that I have cameras watching me, but, I cringe through those moments and I'm like, oh God, no, please, no, turn it next, like go to the other person, but I don't know. Maybe one day I'll learn. Certainly my dad is not allowed to watch the show. He learned his lesson the hard way after like season 2.
When you watch yourself back in those moments with whether it be Everett or Stravi, with regard to some of the fights with your boyfriends, are you ever able to see their point of view when you watch it back?
Sometimes. And there's like a lot of times in my fights with boyfriends, whether it was Everett or Stravi, there's a lot of moments I'm not proud of and getting activated while I'm drunk and like, whatever. But I think that's what happens is I'm less able to articulate myself when I'm angry or activated or upset. And, a lot of times like with Stravi, he wasn't listening to me for basically our entire relationship for an entire year up until that point. And at that point, I was just like, dude, do I have to raise my voice for you to listen? Like, why are you not listening? And what should have happened is I should have broke up with the guy after, the first time that I wasn't getting what I needed out of the relationship, so there's a lot of like moments where I cringe and I'm like, yeah, I can kind of see, if someone had a point, but I can see my point more. So there's that.
A good friend of mine who my audience knows very well, Jamie Stein, he has a patented theory that Hannah is the true villain of Summer House. The way he explains it is that Hannah would play you and then Paige and Amanda against each other. She would be running back and forth and then never take any ownership that she was the one that was starting shit. And somehow she got away with it. Why is that?
I don't know how she got away with it. I don't know. I can't honestly speak to her like psychosis. But I don't know. I don't know why she got away with that. I don't know. I just think that's how Hannah is. Like, we're both Leos. Her birthday's one day after mine.
A lot of Leos in the house. Kyle too.
Yeah, and Amanda.
Oh
Amanda's July 24th, right? That's a little cuspy, Cancer, Leo, but I think that still is a Leo, right? July 24th. And then Kyle is August 4th. Lindsay, me is August 11th. Hannah's August 12th.
It's so funny. And you know what's interesting, on this same note, random but true, the majority of the cast of Vanderpump, they're all Cancers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I get along with Cancers. Maybe that's why I get along with that whole entire group.
Do you want to keep doing reality TV?
I love it. I feel like for some reason, it just like works for me.
It's the Leo Scorpio moon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love everything that has come along with this show. I would continue doing it. I think I'm just like living my life and trying my best to find true and real partnerships. And, timeline's out the door. So I'm just sort of like letting the universe handle everything because I feel like I'm giving everything to the universe, and then letting it take control and figure it out.
Yeah, you just referenced the timeline. You had a handwritten timeline and it was titled Timeline 4, the number 4, Life, which I found hilarious. In prepping for this, I like really zoomed in on it and I read the whole thing.
It's so interesting because that timeline was a very specific timeline with me and Steven. If you read it, it wasn't like Lindsay wants this, Lindsay wants this, Lindsay wants this, and no Steven involved. It was Lindsay, Steven, Lindsay, Steven, Lindsay, Steven. And, Steven was like, I think we had gone, it was day drinking. It was a really nice February day. We had been out day drinking at a rooftop and came back, that like really happy kind of buzzed on a Saturday afternoon. And he randomly asked me like, what kind of timeline do you envision for us? And I was like, funny you should mention. A couple months ago, I wrote this down and he's like, let me see it. And I was like, are you sure? Like, I don't want to scare you. Like, whatever. And he was like, no, like, show it to me. And I showed it to him and he immediately was like, I agree 100%. This is very fair to both of us. And I was like, well, that was my goal, is to make sure that it was fair. So, I know I get a lot of shit for like this timeline and whatnot, but it was a very specific timeline with Steven, not just for me, but with him, because I thought he was going to be my person and he wanted it as much as I did.
Just some final thoughts here. Luke.
Yeah.
Okay. What do we make of this quote unquote psychic who DM'd Hannah conveniently, giving this, a psychic, like an Instagram psychic. We're supposed to believe, like she thought that you would believe that.
I mean, listen, those girls, they love to like wait until I'm drunk enough to be super reactive, right? Like they had all this opportunity during spa night to like tell me what was going on, but they just waited and waited and waited until I had like just a couple more drinks so that I was reactive enough.
Where do you think do you think somebody actually DM'd?
I don't know. I mean,
did they
I
just
haven't
make
seen
this up?
Who knows? I mean, I never saw the receipts. It's quite possible for them to make it up. It's a very clearly like ridiculous, story. I'm like the type of person where like, if I hook up with anyone, I immediately run to my best friends and I'm like, oh no, I did something. You know what I mean? So I think it's just so silly and ridiculous. I think that some people were stretching. I even asked, I was like, you guys been doing Pilates today? And I missed the class because this is a lot of stretching. It was just like a huge stretch. I don't think there's like one person in the universe world who thought that was true. I don't know if and it sucks. Here's why it sucks, because I actually do believe in life coaches and psychics to a degree who are in person, or, certain palm readers or tarot card readers. Like I do. And it kind of tainted my idea of, that whole, industry, because I was just like, why are you number one, why is your psychic talking about me? Let's just start there. Why is she not, isn't a psychic supposed to tell you about your life that's in the future?
Exactly.
Not about okay, we can stop at number one because it's just so ridiculous.
No, go on. No, I find this really interesting.
Oh,
yeah.
Number one, I mean, why is your psychic talking about me? Number two, I think that you should maybe replace your psychic with a life coach. Number three, at that point, I had never hung out with Luke ever in the city without Stravi being there, ever. And also, I had just broken up with my boyfriend. So now you're accusing me of cheating. And I'm a fiercely loyal person, even if I probably should have cheated on that guy and I never did, to attack my character out of thin air when, not even Hannah believed it as this was happening. It was just you're just attacking my character for the fun of it, just for fun. You just want to make me look like a bad person for fun. And I think that was like the most hurtful portion of it. And like, that's why I was like, do you know who I am? Like, I'm loyal, and I think like some people thought that I was saying it in a different way. Like, no, I am crazy loyal. I do not cheat on boyfriends, and you're accusing me of cheating, and that's hurtful. So
listen, Lindsay, this is why Jamie Stein says Hannah Berner is the true villain of Summer House. Need I say more?
Yeah, I just don't like when people try to intentionally hurt other people.
Lindsay, I love you.
Oh,
I love you too. You're so fun. You are so fun. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Guys, you can follow me, JessXNYC. Follow the show account, Hot Takes Deep Dives, and we'll see you soon.